The Haunting of Okiku. In a small, secluded antique shop in Osaka, Aya stumbled upon an unusual doll. Its glassy black eyes seemed to follow her every move, and its long, silky black hair cascaded down to its feet. The shopkeeper noticed Aya's lingering gaze. "That's Okiku," the old man said with a wary smile. "A doll shrouded in mystery. Its hair is said to grow on its own, and it's believed to house a restless spirit." Aya, an avid collector of antique dolls, was intrigued. Despite the shopkeeper's warnings about its cursed history, she purchased Okiku and brought it home. The first few days passed without incident, but something about Okiku unsettled Aya. The doll's eyes seemed too lifelike, almost as though it was observing her. Late at night, Aya would hear faint whispers, but every time she turned to look, the room was silent. One morning, while brushing her hair in front of the mirror, Aya froze. She glanced at Okiku, perched innocently on the shelf. Was its hair longer than before? It now reached the doll's knees, when Aya distinctly remembered it ending at its waist. She convinced herself it was just her imagination, but the changes became undeniable. By the end of the week, the doll's hair had grown to the floor. Feeling both fascinated and horrified, Aya decided to test the legend. She trimmed Okiku's hair and locked it in a display case. The following morning, the hair had returned to its full length, even more lustrous than before. Aya began to notice other strange occurrences. Lights flickered in her apartment, and she often heard soft giggles in the dead of night. Her once peaceful home now felt oppressive, as though she wasn't alone. One evening, as Aya prepared to sleep, she felt a sudden chill. The temperature in her room dropped sharply, and she could see her breath fogging up in the air. A faint sound broke the silence, a soft shuffling. She turned her head slowly, her heart pounding. Okiku was no longer in its case. The doll now sat on Aya's bedside table, its head tilted slightly, as if it were watching her with unnerving curiosity. Aya's scream caught in her throat as the doll's lips parted ever so slightly. "Stay with me," a childlike voice whispered. Terrified, Aya threw the doll into a storage box and sealed it shut. She planned to return it to the shopkeeper the next day. But that night, she was plagued by nightmares of a little girl in a white kimono, her face obscured by her long, dark hair, weeping softly. When Aya woke up, the box was empty. Okiku sat on the dresser, her hair now tangled and wild, as though it had been clawed at. Desperate, Aya took the doll to a local shrine. The priest listened to her story with grave concern. "This spirit is deeply attached to the doll," he said. "It cannot be destroyed. You must leave it here, where it can be watched over and contained." Reluctantly, Aya left Okiku at the shrine. Though she returned home, the sense of dread lingered. She would wake up at night, certain she heard the faint whisper of a voice calling her name. And sometimes she swore she felt tiny, cold fingers brushing against her hair.